to start the session. Remember what we talked about in the last. So we talk about the equilibrium. Can you remember? Macroeconomic equilibrium, right? So I asked you what do you mean by the macroeconomic equilibrium? Do you have any idea? Yes. That is the equilibrium in the overall economy. Explain the state of the economy, right? Stable situation in the overall economy. When there is when aggregate demand equal aggregate supply, right? And also at the same time, injection should equal to the withdrawal, right? So we identified two conditions, right? When there is a macroeconomic equilibrium, right? You can compare in the micro equilibrium, right? When you talk about the market system, right? Market economy. Right? There also we discussed the equilibrium in the market. Right? But that equilibrium is, that will be a partial equilibrium. Right? If you are looking at we are looking at the particular market at a particular situation, stable situation when the demand and the supply forces are equal, right? It's a simple analysis, right? But compared with that, the macroeconomic explains the equilibrium in the economic aggregates, compared with the balance in the economic aggregate when there is a aggregate demand equal aggregate supply and injections equal to flow. So those two conditions needs to be satisfied at the equilibrium. Right? And we discuss about the start from the simple, actually our analysis, we are not referring to the complex analysis compared with the open economic that we are not going to talk about. But so we highlight those things. You can think about the equilibrium in the overall economy, right? Where they are when we group all the sectors in the economy, right? So that means the household firms, government and the external sector. But here we finally talk about in the simple economy where there are household and the firms. And we assume only the household and the firms exist. So that means the main two variables represent the consumption and the investment. And from the household side, the consumption, we denote as C. From the firm side, we take the investment. Right? So in order to explain the behavior of those two sectors. So then we take the equilibrium. When aggregate demand equal aggregate supply, we know that equals to the aggregate expenditure. So we take the Y for aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure equals to C plus I. Right? So our consumption function we discussed earlier, right? The form consumption mainly depends on the disposable income, or in a simple economy, we can assume it depends on the nominal income if there is no government sector. So consumption function, we know that that is we take it, we can use any notation, no problem. We take the form C0 plus C1 by, right? Autonomous consumption C, and the simple C is denoted as marginal propensity to consume. YE or YO, that is the income or the disposable income. By elaborating that one, so we take the equilibrium because we take the investment as autonomous investment. Right? The exogenous variable, right? Only the consumption depends on the income, but investment depends on not the income. So we since we assume the business investment, no, right? It depends mainly on the interest rate. So, taking that into consideration, we derive the equilibrium. So, this is the equilibrium, macroeconomic equilibrium, right? Pi equal 1 over 1 minus C1 plus C naught plus I plus I. So, C naught and I we identified as the autonomous expenditure. Those are the right side variables, right? And we identified this component, right? So that is the multiplier, right? 1 over 1 minus C1. So we denoted as autonomous expenditure multiplier, K, right? With respect to change in the autonomous expenditure, C naught and I, here multiply effect on national income, right? That we identified, right? Through the multiplier. So with the Keynesian analysis, Keynes invented this multiplier effect. And we identified the consumption partner, right? So that play a pivotal role, right? In operating the multiplier, and then explain the determination of equilibrium income through the multiplier effect. With respect to change in the autonomous expenditure, right? Here we take the simple account, right? And we can elaborate that one up to with the government sector, with the open economy environment, like that, right? If we go to the government sector, that one also we take into consideration, but then Y equals C plus I plus G, right? G is the government expenditure. So government expenditure means government expenditure on goods and services. That is the government consumption expenditure. So that is the pre-sector, right? So then you can see that also we assume the government expenditure also we assume autonomous, right? Also autonomous expenditure. So it does not depend on the income and so on, right? That is the fiscal policy variable, right? And that one incorporate into the analysis, right? So then Y equals C plus I plus G. If we explain the injections and the withdrawal, if there is a government sector, we know that government makes the expenditure and also government impose taxes, right? So we have to consider those two aspects, government expenditure and the taxation. So then injection equals withdrawal, then we know that in the government sector, injection will be equals to I plus T, right? Withdrawal equals to S plus T. With the condition I plus T equals S plus T. Right? Then Y equals C plus I plus T. Taking that into consideration, we can take we can substitute the functions from consumption, investment, government expenditure. We can derive the equilibrium equation. So since we take the common expenditure, that also we can add it here as autonomous expenditure. Then Y equal 1 over 1 minus C naught plus I plus G, right? So that way we can derive the equilibrium equation. You can do it yourself, right? Like that way. Right? Now we discuss this one only, right? So then you can think about with the external sector, right? We need to add the exports and the imports into our model. This is our model, right? So that explains the relationship between the dependent and the independent variables, right? That's the kind of model. So that model we use to determine the macroeconomic equilibrium, right? Right. So that day, last day we talked about. Now this is the still we are in the simple model where there exists government sector, household and the personal, right? Only the two sectors. So the sectional explanation, right? Now we can use the graphical explanation, right? So now our model, so Y equals C plus I plus C plus I, right? So we can write it Y. Consumption mainly depends on income. So this way also we can write it, right? Or we can write the same thing, C equal Y minus T. So consumption depends on possible income, right? This way also we can write it, right? Same thing, right? So if we take it in different forms, right? So if we have such equation, no worry about, right? that explain the component in that function, right? So we know that consumption mainly depends on disposable income. We can write this also, right? Equals C YD plus IR, right? Consumption depends on disposable income, investment depends on interest rate. Like there can be different way of expression expressing these functions, right? Now our consumption function is y equals C plus I plus C plus I, right? That is our part. So we know that how we derive the equilibrium equation y equal 1 over 1 minus C1 into autonomous expansion, right? Now we will discuss, we are going to explain it in graphical form, right? Now this side we use in the y-axis, E means aggregate expenditure, no? That equals to aggregate demand. That equals to income and what they use the this side income and we have to determine the equilibrium income, right? Now this is the initial situation, what we are going to identify the initial situation. Now this is our equilibrium income equation, right? Y equal E, right? So that is 45 degree line, not right? Then so we can add. So this is the form, right? C naught plus C1 Y, right? Consumption function, right? Now our consumption function depends on it's the nominal simple income. It depends on the nominal income, right? The upward sloping curve starting from the positive intercept that explains the autonomous consumption. We know, right? C naught given that the upward sloping curve, no, when the rise in the income, right? If the rise in the income, no, you know the consumption also increase, no. Combining these point, no, can do the consumption function. And if we have given the consumption function, right, you can do the effects of all these terms, no, right? We need to identify 45 degree line, and we can do the consumption function and the different income levels. We can assess the consumption and we can draw it, right? Right. So then our investment, we know that our name investment function, we take it as ICO I1R, no, right? Can you remember it? What is I0? What is I0? Any equation? So that is autonomous, no, right? Yeah, I0 means autonomous investment. I simple line means what is it? R means the interest rate. Simple line denotes what? That is interest elasticity of investment. Okay. We know that there is a negative relationship between the interest rate and the investment. There is a high interest rate that implies there is high cost of capital, no, right? So that will discourage or that there will be a fewer projects, no, as a result of that will be viable, no, right? If there is high cost of capital, no, right? So that explains the negative side, no, right? So when there is a rise in the investment, interest rate, investment demand increase, no, right? And that depends on this I1, simple I, right? That explains the sensitivity of relationship or the degree of change in the investment due to change in the interest rate, no, right? So now if we know, but in our analysis, investment depends on the interest rate. Now we are talking about this our variable. Now we are talking about the equilibrium income, no, right? So this is the autonomous expenditure, no? Investment autonomous expenditure, right? So therefore we know the investment function, investment curve. It's a given fixed variable, no, right? Horizontal line, right? That is the investment curve, right? There is a fixed investment, no, right? Regardless of the income. There can be different income levels, but investment is fixed, no? Yes, investment is autonomous. That depends on interest rate, right? So this is our investment curve, right? So then we can take the aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure by adding the investment and the consumption, right? So that will explain the aggregate demand about the investment, no, right? This does explain the autonomous consumption, no, right? So aggregate expenditure E Y R 0, right? So that may explain the with respect to the income and the interest rate, no, right? But here our interest rate is, we know that it's a outside variable, no, right? We are not going to take into account. This will be assumed the norms, right? So it's upward sloping, so aggregate demand curve also, aggregate expenditure curve was like upward sloping curve parallel to the consumption function, right? To be parallel to the consumption function, right? So that is the aggregate expenditure. So aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure is C plus I, right? Where those two get the aggregate demand curve. So at different income level, by adding the consumption and the investment, you can find out the aggregate demand. Combining these points, you can know the aggregate demand curve, right? So according to the equilibrium conditions, we know that the equilibrium occurs at the when aggregate expenditure equal aggregate demand or aggregate income, right? At the intersection point of the aggregate demand and the equilibrium income curve inside the equilibrium. So that is the point where aggregate expenditure equals aggregate demand. Right? So that is the equilibrium. That will be the one requirement. The second requirement is the injection should equal to the withdrawal. So if we explain graphically that one also, we have the injection curve in the simple economy, that is the investment, right? And the savings, that will be the withdrawal other part of that, right? So we now identified one equilibrium point, right? So equilibrium according to the first condition, right? And if you know the savings curve, right? So that's also upwards sloping from negative, right? So how to go the savings, right? So at the intersection point, now here we see the intersection point of the saving, the investment. Let's explain the injections equal withdrawal. That will be the same point where aggregate demand equal aggregate expense. So that explains the macroeconomic equilibrium. So we identified equilibrium at Y0 income level, right? So that is the macroeconomic equilibrium. And aggregate demand is given over aggregate expenditure is explained by T Y by 0 R0, right? So R0 means as given level of interest rate, right? At the prevailing interest rate. We are not taking the changes in the interest rate here, right? So because when we determine equilibrium, we assume the investment is autonomous, right? So that depends on the interest rate, not the income, right? So this is the equilibrium, right? How we explained graphically, right? Earlier we identified in the equation form. Right? We can draw the, if we have the equations, right? Consumption function, investment, right? Can draw the curves, right? Consumption, investment, and aggregate demand curves, right? And you can explain the equilibrium, right? Okay. Right. So that is the equilibrium, right? So satisfied is the Y0 level, that is the equilibrium income, which satisfies the two conditions that we identified. So aggregate demand equals to the aggregate expenditure and injection equals to the withdrawal, right? Right. That's it clear. You can draw curves graphically, right? We have information, right? So assuming the consumption investment functions, right? And draw the curve and must be able to explain the equilibrium in a graphical form. Right? So now we can explain the equilibrium using the equation, right? This is the equilibrium. We have the model variables, consumption, investment. We can derive the equilibrium equation accordingly, right? And same thing you can explain in a graphical form. And same thing you can explain even in the tabular form, table, as a table, right? Taking all these variables, at different income. Right? Okay, this is the table, right? So if we want to explain in the table, right, you must know the consumption and the investment, right? So in earlier we discussed our consumption function is 100 plus 0.85, right? So the 100 is the autonomous consumption. 0.8 is the marginal compensated consumed, right? That is P. And since we are in a simple economy, it depends on the nominal income point, right? And the investment equals to 60, no? That is fixed, no? Right? So you can understand it's fixed, no? Right? It's autonomous, right? Now, you can assume different income levels, starting from 0, 200, 400, 600, like that. You can fill all these blanks, no? Right? The table, right? By referring our model variables, no? Right? Our model consumption function equal the 0.85, I equals 60. So our model we can activate y equals c plus I, right? So now how much is the consumption at different level of income? If the income level is 0, you can substitute y 0, no? So 1 becomes 0, then consumption equals 100. At 200, 0.8 into 200 plus 100, no? Right? You can take the consumption, right? And the saving function now, this is our, what is the saving function here? Now you have the consumption function, what is the saving function? Minus 100 plus 0.21, no? Right? So that is minus 100 means autonomous savings, 0.2 means the marginal potential savings, no? Right? Because our income is divided between the consumption and the investment. So FTC plus FTS equals to 1. Right? So you can fill the table, no? That's that. So by substituting the different income levels with the same function as well. So then the investment is autonomous. Any given level of income level, no? Right? Investment is 60, no? Right? So by then we can take the aggregate demand by adding the consumption and the investment, no? Right? So if you learn, you can identify these things, right? Now this is the consumption. So we know that when income level increase, consumption also increase, no? Right? And the savings starting from the negative, no? Right? Negative savings, and finally it becomes positive, no? Right? And level of income. Initially we consume more, right, than our income. There is negative savings, no? But after certain point, our consumption is less than the income. That's a saving. And investment is 60, given it is not right, autonomous. By adding the consumption and investment, you can aggregate demand. So where are the equilibrium occurs? When aggregate demand equals aggregate supply for income, no? That is 800, no? Right? And same point you can see in investments equals savings, no? Right? That means injection equals equal asset, right? So that is the equilibrium income is 800, no? Right? So you can do it, right? And we can explain the equation, right, for that. So our consumption function is 100 plus 0.85, and the investment is 60, right? So we can derive the equilibrium equation by substituting the values to the equilibrium income equation, right? So our equilibrium income equation is y equals c plus I, since we have given the simple economics model, right? So you can substitute the C, the consumption function, 100 plus 0.85, investment is 60, no? Right? So then you can simplify this equation, right? So take the y one side, no? Right, for the y variable, and over the other side, autonomous expenditure, we take it the right side, no? Right? So y minus 0.85 equals 160, no? Right? So then by 2y equals 160, y equals 800, right? So like that, so we identify the equilibrium income. 3 forms, equilibrium equations, no? Right? Y equals c plus I, simple model, and in the table, right? And graphically as well, and name, right? Now sometimes we may given some variables, no? Right? Equation. consumption is this much, investment is this much. You ask to determine the equilibrium income, right? So if there is more specific way, you can use the equation directly. You can obtain it. That's the graphically. You need to draw the curves, right, based on the given information, and you need to identify the equilibrium income, right? Okay, is it clear? Right. Now, if you look at earlier what is our consumption is 100 plus 0.8, right? Investment is 60. Now, these autonomous expenditure 160, that is autonomous consumption 100, autonomous investment 60, no? Those variables change, no? Those are the independent variables, no? In our model. So, suppose if there is a change in the investment, right? Autonomous investment, and investment has the highly volatile component in the aggregate demand, no? That is the private investment, no? Right? It can be changed, no? Suddenly, no? With respect to change in the economic environment. Crisis situation, we know share market investments, no? Right? Portfolio investments, no? Right? Another private investment, no? Right? This is a changes occurs, no? Right? There can be sudden reversal, right, of investment. So that's why we identify investment, private investment as the highly volatile component in the aggregate demand. So there can be changes in the investment. So if you assume investment change by delta I portion, no, what happened? That will lead to change the income as well, no? Delta Y portion, right? So we can assess the change, no, right? With respect to change in the investment and changes in some level, right? And we know there is a multiplier, no, right? So using that one, we can see what kind of changes occur, the speed of change in income due to change in the investment. So that mainly explained by the autonomous expenditure multiplier, no, right? Now we are going to discuss that one, right? And then we can elaborate to others. These four sector models, right? Just see how it is changed, right? So the multiplier is not always 1 or 1 minus E1, no, right? That depends on the situation, no, right? In the model variables, no, right? So if we have simple economy, there is a multiplier, no? So we derive 1 or 1 minus C1, no, right? But in the three sector economy, when there is a tax component came into operation, that affects the consumption, no, right? By D, no, right? So there can be different tax functions, no, right? Early we can assume the autonomous, and there can be proportional tax, no, right? And the combined tax like that. Depending on that, the multiplier will change, right? In the open economy environment also, right? So we can manipulate the import function, right? And export is autonomous, there will be no impact. But import mainly depends on the yes, impact. So therefore, there will be an impact on the multiplier in the open economy environment as well. Right? You have to think about changing the multiplier. Only remember, if you have the variables, you can derive the multiplier accordingly. Right? Now here in a simple economy, we are taking the initial output level, right? We know the initial equilibrium income, no, right? So you must remember what is our initial equilibrium income. In a simple economy, we have the autonomous consumption and the autonomous investment, no, right? So this autonomous expenditure we denoted as A, no, right? So that they explain the autonomous consumption, autonomous investment. Autonomous investment may depend on the interest rate. That's why we put it as A or C, right? And 1 over 1 minus C, 1. 1 over 1 minus simple C is the multiplier. So that is the equilibrium income, right? So then if there is a change, now we know that suppose the investment is autonomous expenditure component, one important component is the private investment, right? Autonomous. That can be changed. We assume that will change by delta I portion. So how much, right? According to that, right? Income also changed by particular portion. So if income change from Y0 to Y1, no, as a result of that, with respect to change in the autonomous investment, right? Investment may be changed by if there is a change in the interest rate, no, right? So we assume interest rate change from R0 to R1, no, right? Earlier the interest rate is R0, now interest rate is R1, different interest rate. No? There's a change in the interest rate. When there's a change in the interest rate, investment demand change accordingly, no, right? So that will change the autonomous expenditure, no, right? And there will be a change in the income as well. That's why income change from Y0 to Y1. Okay. So now this is the initial situation. After the change, so this is the equilibrium income equation, right? It's given by Y1, right? And change, we need to take the difference, right? Next impact, right? Take the difference from second equation minus first equation, right? Okay. Y1 minus Y0. Now y1 or 1 minus c1 is common, right? Given, right? We can take it as, right? And we take the change AR1 minus AR0, right? So we take the difference between the two equations, right? So then we can take it as the change in output, right? So that is the delta y. In other words, taking output is delta y with respect to change in investment delta I, right? So this is the delta I, this is the delta y, right? Right. So then we can take the change in income due to that delta y equals 1 over 1 minus c into delta a. Right? So D is the difference, right? We take dy or delta y equals 1 over 1 minus c into DAR. That is the change in autonomous expenditure, right? It will have a multiplier effect on income, right? So that is explained by changing income, right? When the autonomous expenditure changed by delta I, not changed by delta y, that is explained through the multiplier, right? Negatively multiply right? So if investment increase, now earlier our investment is 60, we assume it increase up to 80, right? So the change in autonomous expenditure is 20, right? So we can assess the multiplier, right? Based on the C, marginal profit consumed, right? So we need only the C, in order to calculate the multiplier, right? Earlier our consumption function is explained 100 plus 0.8, right? So 0.8 is the C, right? 1 over 1 minus 0.8, how much is 1 over 1 minus 0.8 means 0.2. 1 over 0.2 means multiplier is 5, right? So change in investment is 20, 20 into 5, change in income is 100, right? So that is the change in income, right? Like that way. So this explained in the equation form, right? We take the initial form equation after the change and the difference. We explain the difference, right? Taking changes with respect to change in the autonomous. So now if we take the dy dA to this side, what is it? We take dA to this side, that means dy over dAr. In other words, that is the changing income divided by change in investment. No, right? Because only the change in the autonomous expenditure is investment, right? Here, no, right? So that is equals to 1 over 1 minus C, right? So that is the autonomous expenditure multiplier, right? So we can derive the autonomous expenditure multiplier as well. So that is the investment multiplier, right? Right? So in the simple economy, we can identify we identify two autonomous expenditure. One is the autonomous consumption, other one is the autonomous investment. Here, the most important component, the investment, right? So we can calculate the investment multiplier, right? So that is explained. Delta y over delta I equals 1 over 1 minus V1, right? In other words, right? Yeah, right. Our equilibrium initial 101 minus C1, right? So autonomous expenditure C0 plus ICU, right? Now we assume the investment change by delta I portion, right? According the income change by delta Y portion, right? And we take only the changes here, right? This is given, no, right? Only change the investment by delta I portion, right? We take the only changes, right? According to change in the income, right? Investment, change in income with delta Y, change in the investment by delta I. So we take only the changes, right? So we take the delta Y, let's explain the dy here, right? Delta Y into delta I, that is the autonomous expenditure, right? On over minus. Right. Now here earlier our consumption function is explained. C1 is 0.8, right? So that multiplier equals to 5. So this is the investment multiplier, right? Investment multiplier. You can identify, right? If change in the autonomous expenditure, right? So there will be a change in the income, right? Here we autonomous expenditure is the investment, right? If change in the investment, there will be a multiplier effect on income, right? So that is explained by the investment multiplier, right? Response units of income due to change in the investment, right? But by the investment multiplier, according to our model, right, is equals to 1 over 1 minus C1, right? So that is the investment multiplier, right? Right now, you can calculate the investment multiplier, right? According to our equation, so that is 5. Right? Investment is changed by 20 million, no? This from 60 to 80, no? Right? Investment, no? Right? So that is 20 million, change in I is 20, no? We don't know how much change the income, right? Delta Y, we don't know, right? We need to assess the change in income, no? Right? So directly we can substitute to the multiplier delta Y or delta I. So that is 1 over 1 minus C1 according to our equation. So the delta Y we don't know. Delta I is 20, right? 1 over 1 minus C1 is, now the C1 is 0.58. So 1 plus 5, change in income equals 100. Right? So that way you can assess the change in the equilibrium income. You know the multiplier, right? That is in a simple economy we assume. Right? So that is the expenditure multiplier, right? So we take commonly the expenditure multiplier with respect to change in the quality of the expenditure of that. So C and the I, right? So that is called autonomous expenditure multiplier, right? We take it as with respect to change in the income, and we take the autonomous expenditure we consider, like same here, right? So we take the autonomous expenditure multiplier, right? Then the actual change to autonomous expenditure income, the multiplier, right? That is given by autonomous expenditure multiplier, right? So normally this multiplier, right? Positive rate with the MPC, right? Multiplier, in order to be a multiplier, so one important property is it should be greater than 1, right? If it is equals to 1 or less than 1, that will never be the multiplier, right? In order to be a multiplier, it should be greater than 1, right? Positive, right? Right. So now if you look at this multiplier, autonomous expenditure multiplier, For the investment multiplier in our model, 1 over 1 minus C, right? C means equal to D, so you can take it C1, that is D, right? C means marginal profit concept, right? When the C change, multiplier also change, right? When C increase, what happened? MPC increase, what happened to the multiplier? This component increase, whole component reduced, 1 over that. We have taken that part, right? So then multiplier is not increase, right? That means K, that is autonomous expenditure multiplier increase, right? When there is a rise in the MPC or the C1, right? So there will be a rising multiplier of autonomous expenditure. That means there's a kind of positive relationship between the MPC and the autonomous expenditure multiplier. And the MPC and the same thing, same in investment multiplier as well, right? So there's a positive relationship, okay? So that means we take our earlier one is the 0.8, right? Now suppose MPC is the 0.9. What happens? That is 1 over 1 minus 0.9. That equal 1 over 0.1. No? Multiply first 10, right? Then, right? When the MPC increase, multiply also increase. And it operates other way around with respect to MPS, right? When MPS increase, multiplier that should because data effect, no marginal propensity to consume means what? So how much you allocate consumption from your income, no? Right? That explains the sensitivity between the income and the consumption. No? You allocate more from your income to consumption, no? That explains higher multiplier, that means higher MPC, no? Right? Higher MPC means consumption increase, no? Right? That is one component. Component is the aggregate demand. In consumption increase, aggregate demand also increase directly, no? Right? Direct form, right? So that's why multiplier also increase, no? Right? So that means when MPC increase, what happens? Consumption increase, that increase the aggregate demand directly, no? Right? When the aggregate demand increase, directly income increase as a result of that, because aggregate demand equal income, no? Right? So then we explain the demand side factors, no? Right? All these consumption, investment, no? Right? The demand side explanation behind. So that's right. Multiplier. Right. Okay, right. So now we can identify the autonomous expenditure multiplier. Right? Here we only take the simple economy, right? But in other sectors operate, right? So there may be set of autonomous expenditure, right? Any operate other sectors, government sector, external sector, right? We can incorporate all these expenditures, autonomous investment, government expenditure, export also we take it as autonomous expenditure, right? Because export depends on what? It's on the exchange rate, right? You're not taking income as a main determinant, right? So we assume exogenous. But import mainly depends on the income and the interest rate as well. So exchange rate as well, right? There we assume import mainly depends on income. Right? Okay. So all these expenditure, autonomous expenditure, right? Investment, government expenditure, export, in our model, right? In the full-fledged model, if we are expanding, we can consider all these variables are exogenous. So that explains the multiplier. With respect to changing these autonomous expenditure, there will be a multiplier effect. That is explained by the K, no, right? So this multiplier operates through the direct and indirect effects. To the direct and indirect effects, right? They use the whiteboard, right? Because online participants, right? Now, if I repeat it, right? If we take the in a overall economy, right? Earlier it was simple. Now our model we take the government expenditure, right? And the exports, those are the injections, right? Savings, taxes, and the imports, no? Right? Any of the imports, no? Right? Those are withdrawals, right? Injections equal withdrawals, right? And the y we can take E plus E plus X minus M. This is our models, right? And if we take the model variable, our consumption we take, we will take this way, right? Okay, C0 plus C1 mighty, right? And the investment, we take it depends on interest rate, right? So it's autonomous. Common expenditure also autonomous. We take the I bar, right? So that is autonomous, right? E bar means autonomous. Export, that also we assume autonomous, right? But import function, import depends on simple M0 plus My. This is our import function. Okay. M0 means what? As usual, that is autonomous investment, right? So this is the autonomous investment, right? Autonomous investment, right? And this is Y means income, no? So we assume import is a function of income, right? So that's a function of income. So there are certain assumptions. We assume imports positively related with income, right? Positively related with income. When income increase, imports also increase, right? By increase, that needs to increase the imports as well, right? So the import mainly comprises the expenditure on consumables, right? So these are the imports comprising expenditure of consumable items, consumption expenditure. We are not taking the investment expenditure on import. We are import other, if we analyze our import structure, mainly comprising what our import structure, import consumables, intermediate products, and capital goods. There are three components of that. Intermediate products related for petroleum, fertilizer, and apart from that, machineries, capital goods, right? And mostly we import consumables, right? Essential goods, right? So we assume import function when we talk about import. Import mainly depends on the income. That is our first assumption, right? So there is a positive relationship, right? When imports increase, right? When income increase, then imports also increase, right? You agree with that? When our income level increase, why imports demand increase? Why we demand more imported other than domestic product? When our income level increase, that means our sales increase. Okay? We prefer to buy foreign goods. Like maybe high luxury type expensive products, right? So that means our consumption shift from domestic product to imported goods. When our income level increase. But high income level, there is high demand for imported goods, right? Right? So that is our Sri Lankan, especially that is our way of behaving, consumption. We explain consumption change, right? And the other assumption is import expenditure means import expenditure on essential goods, right? We are not consider here imports on intermediate products and capital balance, right? Only import comprising expenditure on consumables, right? Those are things, right? Okay. It's positive relate and income depends on the income, right? And import comprises import of essential goods, right? Now this simple name means what is simple name? And explain the sensitivity of right between the income and the imports, right? So let's explain the sensitivity of imports. Marginal propensity, right? Right. So that is the simple name, right? When income increase, what happens? Imports also increase, no? So this multiply and they are the autonomous imports as well, no? So that means import here we assume mainly depends on the income, no? Autonomous imports mean other factors other than the income which determine the imports, right? The exchange rate, right? Interest rate, right? Inflation, those are the other. That is tackled by NC, right? Autonomous import. Autonomous imports, right? That is our import schema, right? So this is our model. This is our model, right? In the open economy, right? If we take only the three sector economy, this is our model, no? Right? Three sector, no? Right? So there are two economy government taxes, right? Export and import, right? Now you can derive the equilibrium equation based on this, no? Right? So substituting the model variables into our model. So y equal, now the consumption is takes a T0 plus T1 YD, right? And the investment is I bar, permanent milliliter T bar plus export X bar minus imports M0 plus MY. So that is the way I we substitute our variables to our model, right? And then you can now here the YD, right? Now it's the government sector also there, right? Now there are different tax functions also there. Tax. There can be different tax functions. One is the lump sum tax, no? Right? That's a given, lump sum tax, no? Right? Lump sum tax. And the proportional tax, now the tax function can be given as T equals T0 simple T1 with the tax rate, no? Right? Change in the income, no? Right? Tax change in the income, no? With the change in the income, right? So there is a tax rate now. Suppose 20% tax, no? Right? The proportional tax, right? So the proportional tax. And there can be a combine of this T0, there is autonomous part plus T1, the proportional income. Right? So different tax function, right? So this may be changed. Right? If we assume autonomous tax, it's simple, right? If there is a proportional tax, we need to incorporate all these things, right? Now, suppose now our tax function, we assume lump sum tax, right? But if there is a proportional tax, all will be the multiplier change, right? Right? You can substitute the proportional tax. I will give you the here our tax function accordingly we assume P bar, right? Proportional tax, right? In our model, right? Now if we have this like that way, the consumption function P0 plus P1 y minus T bar, right? YD means y minus T bar. No? If we have the proportional tax, we need to write it P1 y minus T1 y minus T1. If there is a combined tax, we have to take another bracket here, no? Right? T1 y minus the T1 plus T1. Like that. This bracket is very, very important. We will simplify, no? Otherwise we will confuse, right? Minus plus signs will change, right? Therefore, when you are putting the brackets, you must be very careful, right? But here we assume only the sum tax, right? If there are other tax functions, you need to substitute that here, right? Okay? Here, I'm not going to repeat it, right? I'm not going to talk that things, right? But you can, your own way, you can take the proportional tax, you can substitute it and find the equation, right? And see how the multiplier changes, right? If there is a combined tax, substitute that one into here, simplify the equation and see how the equation will come in there, right? So all other variables are same row. Now we can simplify minus M0 minus M1. Now it becomes minus M0 minus M1, right? So that's very important, right? Now here T0 plus T1y minus T1 T0, right? So that the things are given. Our equation, now you can take the y into this side minus T1y here plus M1 equal all other variables are autonomous, no? Right? All these variables are autonomous. Okay. And minus M0 are also autonomous, right? These are the right side variable, all variables are autonomous, right? So with respect to changing these variables, there will be a multiplier effect. Now we are going to derive the multiplier, right? So y is common, 1 minus C1 plus M. Right? Simple, right? Okay. Into autonomous experiment. So y is take 1 minus C1 plus M, right? Autonomous. So this is our equilibrium equation, right? Open economy environment, the government and the external sector, right? So, right? So this is the multiplier, right? This is the autonomous expenditure multiplier. These all variables are autonomous expenditure. Here the import variables are the investment, one import, government expenditure. And we can take the exports and the imports, right? We can derive the multipliers, right? And also we can derive the tax multipliers as well, right? So interest change in the tax and so on, right? Right now, we take the multiplier, investment multiplier also same, government expenditure multiplier also same, export multiplier also same, import multiplier. What is it? We derive that it should be become this become negative, no? Minus 1 over 1 minus T1 plus N, like that, right? So we can assume only the change, like we did earlier, right? With the change in the income, right? For an example, we take the investment, right? Change in investment, like delta I. Accordingly, the income change by delta Y, right? 1 over 1 minus T1 plus N. Take the respective change in. Or other way around, we have taken the initial equilibrium. After the change equilibrium, right? Take the difference, like we did earlier, right? Take the difference between the two equations. Can derive the multiplier. The simple way is only we take here only the changes, right? So delta Y over delta I equals 1 over 1 minus C1 plus N. So that is the investment multiplier, right? That is the same way government expenditure multiplier also delta Y over delta T. 1 over 1 minus 1 plus N. Right? So that is the government expenditure multiplier, right? Export multiplier, delta Y over delta X, same thing, same way. Can only change the export, right? 1 over 1 minus 1 plus. Right? But import multiplier means over here minus, no negative. No? All other multipliers are positive, right? We can take the tax multiplier, that's also negative, no? Right? Now, to take the imports, delta Y over, with respect to change in the imports, right? So delta minus delta M, right? Delta Y over delta M equals minus 1 over 1 minus D1 plus N. Negative, no? Right? Import multiplier is negative. Why? Import multiplier is negative. Why? So we assume import depends on the income. No? There's a positive relationship when the income increase, import increase, but when imports increase, there will be a negative impact on the equilibrium income. Why? Because so higher import means discourage the domestic production, right? Why not, right? So therefore, there will be a negative, right? And how do you derive the tax multiplier here? So that is very important. What is the tax multiplier? Do you think that's same? What do you think? Tax multiplier. So that is now my idea here is clear to you. Now this is our equation, no? Right? We take this one, right? We write this thing. Anything, right? 1 equals 1 over 1 minus D1 plus M into D naught minus D1 is 0. D bar plus X bar minus M. Right? Now this is the tax, no? Right? That is combined with C1T. Right? Okay. If there is a change in the income due to change in the tax, right? Only we take the changing tax, right? We have taken that part minus C1, right? Delta T. Right? Minus C1 delta T. Okay, no, right? This is the whole component. Okay. Right? We take the delta Y into this T this side of delta Y over delta. What is minus C1 over 1 minus C1 plus 10. That is the tax multiplier. Right? So that is the tax multiplier. Tax multiplier is negative, no? But it is different, no? Right? Minus C1, 1 over C1 plus 10. You can calculate the tax multiplier if you know the C1 and the marginal profitability imports, right? Right? So marginal profitability imports means the import function, right? We take that one, right? So that one also there can be a value, no? Right? By considering those all these things, you can calculate the tax multiplier, right? It's negative, right? When the tax increase, what happens? There will be a negative effect of national income, no? Right? Why? Because tax increase. Why there is a negative impact? So that reduces the disposable income, right? So when there is high tax, that reduces the disposable income. Because consumption depends on high income. X. Y minus T, right? When tax increase, Y equals Y minus T, right? When tax increase, disposable income decrease, right? When tax increase, YD decrease, right? Okay. When YD decrease, what happens? Consumption decrease. Because consumption depends on disposable income, right? When consumption decrease, what happens? That will reduce the aggregate demand. So the aggregate demand is the product of C plus I plus D something. When consumption decrease, aggregate demand also decrease, right? When aggregate demand decrease, what happens? Income decrease because Y equals aggregate demand. Right? Then when income decrease, again what happens? There will be a negative effect, right? So this will operate, right? Again consumption decrease, no? Right? Because consumption depends on sometimes. Again aggregate demand. There is a multiplier effect, right? So that explains the direct and the indirect effects. Direct effect coming from the resistance change with your autonomous experience. To the multiplier, then there will be a series of indirect effects operating. So that explains the multiplier. No? So that's right. Now income decrease in the first round. No? Like you see this series, right? To look at this one, when tax increase, disposable income. So the income decrease, right? So that's why the tax multiplier is negative, no? Right? Higher taxes discourage production, no? Right? And corporate taxes involved, no? Right? So there is no conducive environment for the business sector to operate, no? If there is high tax, no? Right? The loan term that will discourage the production. So therefore, there will be a negative tax multiplier, right? Now you can just have done all these things, right? And here, right? These tax multipliers you can think about, right? These are not serious things. If you know the model, which model we are simple, three sector or four sector, no? Right? So then you can identify the different variables, no? Variable. And then you can elaborate your model, right? Substituting all the variables, right? Combining model variables, you can derive the multipliers. You can derive the equilibrium income, right? No need to do it. But when you are taking those variables and when you are substituting those variables into model, you must be very careful, right? Based on that, because there can be different tax functions, right? And codes also there, right? So likewise, we need to consider all these things, right? Right. Now we can identify all these discussions, right? Consumption play important role, no? Consumption function. See, here also, right? If there is a tax change, operating affects the consumption. So then other variables, no? Right? Again, it affects the consumption in other variables. Operate, the multiplier may be operate to the consumption function. That's why we identified in this model, income determination model, no? Right? Consumption function play a pivotal role, right? So that multiplier operate with the support of the consumption function, right? Okay, that explains the direct and indirect series, right? So sometime we may discuss, right? Those things. This one explain that one, right? Direct and the series of indirect effects coming from here, no? Right? We'll explain the multiplier. Right. Now this talk about all these things. I'm not going to repeat, right? Next, we introduce the government, right? So we introduce the government. We have to think about the government expenditure and the taxes, right? How we incorporate those components into our model, right? We can identify the expenditure multiplier, tax multiplier, right? Now, that is the government expenditure multiplier, investment multiplier, same form, right? Positive. But the tax multiplier is negative, is different form. We take the direct taxes basically, like we are not talking about corporate taxes, like income tax. And the transfers we also consider, like with the government, right? So if we like the disposable income, right? You have to consider tax and the transfer, right? You have to deduct the taxes and the transfers. Right? So that's also no transfers also no. We take the net tax, right? Minus R. Right now, then we take the form, right? The injections is approval, right? With the government, right? Right? And our consumption function also change according to the tax. We take the tax function, right? Tax payment function. We have the income tax, proportional tax, combined tax, or receipt. That this we need to substitute that component here, right? Function derived from that, right? Right. So I ask you to refer these things, right? I assume that you may refer these things, read that one, right? So I'm not going to repeat just for your understanding, right? So the government expenditure and the revenue, right? So those are the main components in the government budget, right? So here we take the government expenditure, the taxes. So in our model, we take the government expenditure on goods and services only, right? Revenue, we take only the taxes, right? But when you look at the fiscal government fiscal operations, right? Policy and so on, right? You can identify the government spending structure, tax structure, right? There are different forms of taxes, right? Direct interest, right? One for the difference between the direct interest and different expenditure items, we classify according to the economic classification and the functional classification as well, right? Now the revenue, if you look at the revenue, right, that is the main area, right? So government has to earn revenue, right? Not make expenditure, right? Because government has set objectives, right? As a important component, right, in the economy, right? Government sector, right? Next one is infrastructure, right? And in low and more and so on, to that government must earn revenue, right? There are different sources of revenue, namely the tax and the non-tax, right? The tax coming from different taxes, right? You need to further settle that kind of report, right? Get some idea about the tax structure, right? How much coming from the direct tax, how much coming from the indirect tax, right? Likewise, and the last few years, right? Changes in the tax structure and so on, right? So mainly now, if you look at the main source of revenue with the tax, right? Non-tax revenue is only the insignificant part. 89%, right? Coming from the tax, 7% coming from the non-tax, right? Likewise, and you can see the main sources of tax and the non-tax, right? Please refer those things, right? To other tax forms, right? To tax and the non-tax, right? And we identify the direct indirect tax, what is the difference, right? Based on direct tax, based on the income, right? Okay, right? Directly, right? There cannot be transferred, right? But indirect tax can be transferred to the party, right? Sales person or the business firms pay the tax and that can be transferred to the consumer, right? Discuss the micro and right taxes, right? If you refer these things, I am not going to talk, right? So these refer a non-tax sources, right? So can I expenditure also we classify the economic, the classification of current expenditure, capital expenditure. Okay. We must know what is the main component of the current expenditure. Interest payments, transfers, salaries and the wages, right? And the government expenditure, consumption expenditure. So we pay more, the interest payments and salaries, government servants, right? So it's a high burden of right. Now we know the burden on the interest, right? Even though now we all the this payments, right? And we have to pay everything foreign power, right? That have been there after 2028, maybe, right? Right. Right. So we can look at those things, right? It's a changes in the current expenditure. Right? That explains the that expenditure, right? That affect to the government savings, right? The current expenditure, right? Current expenditure, right? If there is high current expenditure, government receive the income. If the current expenditure is very high, that means government savings low, right? So now we have the negative savings, right? This savings, there will be a negative impact on the capital expenditure. Right? Mostly from our income, government income, 85% allocate for the current expenditure. Right? 15% goes for the capital, right? Very minor component, capital expenditure. Right? That side, we have the problem, right? High current expenditure. And we need these to reduce the public savings, right? Right. And functional classification also, there is another classification of like public servant, public service, economic services, social service, right? Please look at the central bank annual report, right? So have an idea about this expenditure, right? According to economic and the functional. Right. So and when we come to the game, right? So our model, right? We can identify in our model, right? So in the government sector, right? We have the government taxes and the expenditure, right? Mainly the government revenue coming from the taxes, and government expenditure, right? So will the government raise taxes to raise the expenditure? That kind of situation, right? If government wants to raise the government expenditure, right? So that will be financed by raising taxes, right? If the government wants to raise the expenditure by 100 million, that is financed by raising taxes by 100 million. So what is the impact, right? So that explains the balanced budget multiplier, right? It's a kind of simple economic explanation, right? So that means if the government expenditure is financed by raising taxes, what is the impact on national income? We can analyze that one. What is the impact, right? So now we take the initial equilibrium, right? Now with the government sector, right? So now here the situation, right? Now you can derive this equation, right? Now here we are going back, right? Now we are in the three sector model, right? With the government. We have the household, firms, and the government, right? We have the consumption, investment, government expenditure, right? So those are the things. Consumption expenditure is given, we know that consumption function, investment, and the government expenditure are total, right? Now this is the equilibrium. Equilibrium, right? Equation, right? So y equals 1 over 1 minus C1 into autonomous expenditure, right? You can derive this equation, right? See how you derive this equation. When you have given the consumption function, you can assume the lump sum tax, right? And the autonomous investment as a government. Okay. And if there is a raise in the tax, now the government raised the tax by government increase the government expenditure and the taxes by same amount, right? So that means delta G equals delta With that change, we know that if the government increase taxes and the government expenditure by same amount, so there will be a change in income, not right? Accordingly. That is given by delta y. Right? So what is the total effect? Y plus delta y. Right? So that means after making the change, right? The impact on income. That is given by total change in income. Total income y plus delta y. 1 over 1 minus e, 1 is the autonomous multiplier because we have the autonomous tax. Right? We are not supposed proportional tax, right? If there is a proportional tax, it still change, right? See how it is changed, right? So since we have the lump sum tax, so we have 1 over 1 minus e. Right? Autonomous expenditure, all these expenditure autonomous right side variable, right? So there actually we change. These taxes we change by delta t. T plus delta t. That means we have the C0 plus DC0, right? C1, DC0 plus delta t, right? Investment is same, but we change the government expenditure DC0 plus delta t, right? So that is the change, right? We are taking not only the change with the total, right? Total effect, right? So that's why here we take the total effect, right? So this is the after making the changes, no? After adjusting the tax and the expenditure. So we get this equation, right? And if you take the difference, what is the net impact? You have to deduct this second one from first one, right? So what is the change? Taking a calculator to the right away, capital on it, right? And if you take only the remaining, right? Delta y. Here, this is how much, right? All these expenses cut down, right? The 0 minus C0 cancel out, right? I0 cancel out. Now we have the delta t T0 that also cancel out, right? And we have only the delta t, right? And the delta g, right? So that we can explain that one 1 over 1 minus C1 delta g minus C1, that is the tax multiplier, 1 over 1 minus C1 delta g, right? So this is the change in income due to change in the government expenditure given by 1 over 1 minus C1 delta g. And the change in income due to change in the tax, that will be negative, right? Anyway, right? So that is given by C1 minus 1. But we know that delta G equal delta T, right? So there will be no impact on budget, no, right? Common expenditure also raised by 100 million, taxes also raised by same amount 100 million. There will be no impact on budget. Budget is 0, right? Budget is 0. The delta G equal delta T means expenditure equals 7. It's a balance. Right? That is given by take the delta G equal delta T means same, right? You can take the change government expense only one. Delta Y or delta G equals finally 15. By this equation will equals to 1. Let's simplify 1 over 1 minus C 1 over C1. Get 1. That is the balance budget multiply. Okay. We take the here the concept is government based expenditure, right? And that expenditure is financed by raising the taxes. Net effect on national income is equals to change in government expenditure. That means if the government raised by expenditure by 100 million, right? And the taxes also raised by 100 million, net effect of national income is national income increased by 100 million. If there is a 1 rupee increase in taxes and that was financed by raising government expenditure, no? So the national income increased by 1 rupee. Right? That's the right. So delta y over delta t equals 1. Right? Can achieving some figures, right? Now equilibrium equation, right? You can assume government expenditure raised by 100, taxes also raised by 100. See how it is change the national income. There's a some tax, right? That will increase by 100 million, right? So that is the balance budget multiplier. For that, I will more effect. The unit multiplier, right? The government increase the spending and the taxes by equal amount, right? Then the output rises by the same amount, right? So that will be the amount that raised by the government expenditure, right? Yeah, we don't know government expenditure, if there's a rise in the government expenditure, that will have a positive effect on national income. National income increase. But if we increase the taxes, there will be a negative impact. Right? That's why we have the expenditure multiplier positive, tax multiplier negative. Right? But here in this case, without any budgetary impact, government has the opportunity to raise the national income. Right? Use this. Right? If the government raise the taxes and the expenditure by same amount without any budgetary impact, but budget is balanced, no, right? Because if there is a deficit in the balance budget, no, there will be a negative effect on the income, overall income, right? So that will mitigate, no, right? The advantage is that, no, right? Government can maintain the balanced budget, but there is an opportunity created for the government to raise the national income, no, under this circumstance, under this policy. If the government raise taxes and the expenditure by same, right? Okay. Now here you can use this graphical explanation, right? Now this is the initial situation. Right? Initial economy is in equilibrium at y0, right? We have the aggregate demand curve, right? Upward sloping curve given by V0. And we have 45-degree line y equally, right? Equilibrium income equation. Economy is equilibrium at y0 income level, right? Initial, right? So what happened? Now the government raised expenditure initially, right? We assume delta G portion, right? You know that when the government raises the expenditure, income also changed by some portion, right? We assume delta Y. We assume income changed from y0 to y1 or something, right? Now when there is a rise in the government expenditure, what happened? That is, the impact on the national income is given by delta Y over delta T, right? That is 1 over 1 minus C1. This one, delta Y, government raised the delta G. This is the net impact on national income, right? That is the multiplier. Government expenditure multiplier. And I think delta Y over delta G equal 1 over 1 minus C1, right? So now what happened? If there is a rise in the government expenditure, aggregate demand curve shift upward to the right, right? When the government raises expenditure, right? Aggregate demand increase from E0 to E1. Why raise from E0 to E1? Government expenditure raise by G0 to G1 by delta G motion. Right? Aggregate demand curve shift upward to the right, given by change in the government expenditure delta G. Right? So as a result of that, income change from Y0 to Y1. The income raised from Y0 to Y1. Where the government raises expenditure, right? So that is the initial situation. But same time, what the government do? Government raises taxes also, right? This expenditure is financed by raising taxes. What happened? When there is a raise in the taxes, there will be an impact on national income, but that impact is negative, right? So when there is a rise in the taxes, by delta T portion, income also change, right, by delta Y portion. So we assume income is decrease, there will be a negative impact. Y1, Y2, right? So now we are in here, right? But when the government raises taxes, there will be a negative impact, right? So as a result of that, what happened? So this is the impact delta Y equals minus C1, 1 minus C1. Right? So delta T. So this is the multiplier, tax multiplier, right? That explains the change in national income due to change in the tax, right? So that is negative, right? So the expenditure multiplier is positive, that's why income raised from Y0 to Y1. But when there is like taxes, there will be a negative impact, there should be a decrease in the income, right? So that will explain why change in the aggregate demand, right? When there is high taxes, what happens? Disposable income reduce, consumption reduce, aggregate demand reduce, right? So that will shift the aggregate demand curve downward to the left, downward to the right, right? Earlier upward, now downward. So that will explain why now this change is given by C minus C1 delta T. Right? That is the multiplier, right? Explain the multiplier effect, right? So in other words, C1 minus C1, 1 minus C1 into delta T explains this, right? So as a result of that, what happened? Income increased from Y1 to Y2 in equilibrium Y move up to this point, right? You can mark earlier, this is E0, then it moves to E1, now it's come to E2, right? Okay. So our income level decreased from Y1 to Y2. Right? So this is the final equilibrium point, right? So the net effect is what? Income raised by Y0 to Y2. That is the net effect, right? As a result of this action, right? So that explains this net effect exactly equal to the raise in the government expenditure, right? According to the balance budget multiplier, right? Because now if you take the two equations, right? Now we know the government expenditure multiplier delta Y over delta G. For this was information with portion of that, this is the government expenditure multiplier. This is the tax multiplier. Then if we add these two, delta Y over delta G, delta Y over delta T, what happened? 1 over minus C1 plus minus C1 over 1. This is the delta Y over delta G, delta B, balance minus 1 plus. So that will be equals to 1. 1 minus C1 is common, no? Right? Simplify this, cancel out, finally, it equals to 1. That is the changing budget, right? Delta B is changing budget. Y over delta B is balance budget. So that explains the base of Y0, Y2. Okay. Is it clear? Do you have any question? Is it clear? Bukan dia data buat. Okay. Is it clear? So this is how the typical, right? So we take on the equation and see the changes, right? Here we take the government expenditure and the taxes, right? Into one platform. That extend the something balance budget. We raise the government expenditure by 1 rupee, and that 1 rupee is financed by raising the taxes. So that effect is income change by 1 rupee. That explains the balance financial, right? Okay. So that means we add the tax multiplier and the expenditure multiplier together. That will equals to 1. So we implement this tax policy and the expenditure policy, no, right? Same time, no, right? So now here there is no impact on budget, no, right? Because changing budget, right? Now here delta T equals delta G. That will equals to changing budget, no, right? So that will equals to 0. So all these things are equal. So delta T equals delta T. That is equals to change in budget. Delta B. That will equal 0. Balance budget, no, right? Okay. Right. This is the equation, right? Now this is the net change, no, right? Net change is the two multipliers, no, right? Delta Y rho, delta B as we explained. Now here you can directly can you do this quickly? I'm not going to do now. I ask you to differ, right? We don't have time. I will take a special extra lecture also, right? After completing the next day, right? Next after the New Year, we are having the test, right? That is one more session, right? Complete we need to do one more session. Okay, thank you. So I hope to come to the ISLM today, right? We can partly complete that one. What can you do this quickly? 1 minute. Take on 1 minute. We have the consumption function. Tax is autonomous, 50 million. Take some amount. Investment 60 million, autonomous. Government expenditure 60 million. How much is the equilibrium income? What is our model? Now, based on the information given, we have to select whether we are a simple model, free sector, or open model. Here we have the investment, government expenditure, consumption. This is free sector model, no? With the government closed economy model, right? Closed economy model. Then our model is y equals c plus I plus d. We have to read that one, no? First, right? We have to decide which model we are going to apply. There might be I with the y plus I plus d, or with the y equals c plus I plus dx minus x. Once you decide the model, right now we have the y plus c plus I plus d model. So we have given the model variables. We need to substitute those variables into the model and find the equilibrium. Consumption function you can substitute, right? Under plus 0.8 yd. Now when you are then you have to think about yd, right? How we derive the yd y minus d. We have lump sum tax. Okay, how much is the national income? So our model we have used y equals a plus I plus d. So our consumption function, we just substitute to this equation. We have given the consumption function 100 plus 0.8 yd. Investment is how much? 60. Government expenditure 8. So there is the disposable income. And we direct right? YD means Y minus tax. T means how much? Taxes. So if there is, since we have the lump sum tax, taxes 50 million at the end. Thus, after Y equals 0.8 y, 0.8 into 50 means 14. 108 plus 14. Then we might y minus 0.8 y equal under 1. So 0.2 y is equal 1000. So then income is 1000. Then what you ask, if there is now, if the government raise taxes 100 million, right? And the expenditure by 100 million, what would be the level of income? What would be the distributive income? So the government raised taxes and the expenditure by 100 million same time. But change in government expenditure is 100. Change in taxes also 100. Earlier, government expenditure is 180. Now it becomes 180. And when taxes is 50, now it becomes 100. Then substitute the value. Yes, I think. Y then y equals 100 plus 0.8 y minus taxes mean y minus 150 plus I is there. Common expenditure 180, right? So y equals 100 plus 25 minus 0.8 into 150, how much? How much 0.8 into 150? Then 20, right? Then 20 plus how much? Y minus 0.25. And then right, how much? It will be 1,100, right? That is the equilibrium income. Here, earlier 1000, now it become 1100. Change in income is how much? 100. That will equal to change in common expenditure, 100, right? So that is the balance budget, right? Now you can do what is the government expenditure multiplier delta y over delta T. 1 over 1 minus T1. Here delta y we don't know. Changing government expenditure is grand to 80, right? Equal 0.8, that is 5. Changing income is how much here? 400, right? That is, you will change in the government expenditure multiplier. And you will change in the taxes delta y over delta t equal minus t over 1 minus t1, right? Because we have the lump sum tax given, right? That's why we have this multiplier. Delta y we don't know that tax equals 100, right? But yes, how much will it be? 100. It's 500, no? Delta t 100. How much is the tax multiplier? Minus 0.8. 1 minus 0.8. 0.8, that is 4. The y over 100 equals minus 4. So the expenditure multiplier and the tax multiplier, if you compare, it's less than 1, right? In absolute term, common expenditure multiplier is 5. Tax multiplier is 4. In absolute term, right? Because tax multiplier is negative, right? Less than 1, right? That's why we have the balance budget. If you take the multiplier together, like 3 equals to 1, right? Now here how much? Changing income decreased by 400, right? Now here income increased by 500. Here income decreased by 400. What is the net change in income? Income decreased by 100, right? As a result of that, right? Due to the government expenditure, we raise the government expenditure by 100 million, income changed by 500. This is change in government income, right? Here income changed by income decreased by 400. Net effect is 100. Right? So that means change in price in the income is 100, right? Because I want higher than that. So based on this 2-month calculation, you can calculate rather than using the total equation. This is the multiplier. If you know the multiplier, you can directly quickly assess the change, right? Then you can identify the total effect. Or if you have given the anything like the government assess the investment multiplier, you can assess the investment multiplier. Investment is by 20 million or something. What is the equivalent income? You can calculate, right? If you know the investment multiplier, directly you can calculate or substitute with the total equation. Yes. Right. Okay, is it clear? So there will be a question, right? More questions on this, right? Please remember, right? In your final exam, right? There will be a question, right? So you have some information, right? Either simple economy or research economy or open economy, no, right? So you know the variables, no, right? And please practice some questions, right? So practice how to derive the equilibrium equation and the multipliers, right? So if there is other forms of tax functions, no, right? Must be very careful, right? In the multiplier, right? So no need to remember those multipliers, right? You can derive all these multipliers in order variable form of model, right? So that is the equilibrium, right? So I think now we have some idea, right? Can I elaborate your idea, right? By compositions as well. Okay, right. So now we are coming to this. This is our to talk about something about the inflation and the unemployment, right? So we will discuss these things in the latter more, right? The last lesson, right? So now this is the now aggregate demand. Now our model is aggregate demand and the aggregate supply, right? When it comes to the ACN theory, right? So there are different so this is normally we are drawing the aggregate demand curve downward sloping, no? Like demand curve, no? Right? And aggregate supply upward sloping, right? This is the equilibrium, no? Right? When aggregate demand equal aggregate supply. Now aggregate demand curve is downward sloping. But in this two axis is what is it? It's the price, no? Price level, no? Right? And this is the national income, Y, no? Right? Okay. So now equilibrium, when the aggregate demand equals aggregate supply, that is the equilibrium. Here, the general price level and the national income, Y, no? Right? So now if there is a rise in the aggregate demand, what happens? Here, shift to the right, right? So that will increase the employment level and sales. Now, if you that is general, right? You know the aggregate demand, aggregate supply, right? This is the price level. We got right. This is the income. So this is the equilibrium. Equilibrium, right? So if there is a rise in the income level, right? So normally we know that there will be a rise in the aggregate demand, right? For there's rise in the investment, government expense, appreciate the aggregate demand, right? So this is the Indian investment from I0 to I1, right? As a result of that, now there will be a equilibrium, no, right? Increase, no, right? So that means when income level increase, that implies the employment level also increase, but there will be an inflation, right? Pressure, right? If there is a rise in the aggregate demand, right? There will be a certain level of rise in the prices as well, right? That is the basically, based on the normal determination, right? Based on the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply. According to Keynesian approach, right? Keynes also aggregate demand kind of this is the aggregate demand, right? So this is the aggregate supply. This is the aggregate supply. The aggregate demand. Aggregate supply is somewhat stable, initial levels, right? And then it become overflowing, right? After certain level. That means so this is the full employment. Full employment, right? Normally become upward sloping, right? Now the Keynes proposed raising the government expenditure, right? That means we are currently here. With the equilibrium, actual output level. So this is the price level, right? So if you raise this level, right? If you use the capacity in the economy, right? We are running with excess capacity, right? So that's why by raising the government expenditure, we can utilize this excess capacity, and that will raise the national income, right? In one deal, it reaches to the full employment level. So one is reached to the full employment level, what happens? We are using the capacity fully. Until that point, we can raise the aggregate demand. Demand side factors are full, right? Not raise the income, right? But after that, what happens? Even though we raise the aggregate demand, income does not change, right? Can we raise to the full employment? We take the also, right? They are producing goods, no, right? We are underutilizing our resources, right? We utilize those resources, no, right? We can raise the output, no, keeping the cost constant, no, right? Now raising the cost. Right? Same way, economy also, if the economy is running with excess capacities, no, right? We are not fully utilize our resources, right? If you utilize all these resources, no, the productivity, when there is a rising the aggregate demand, that unused resources can be utilized, right? So there will be a minimum effect on prices, right? But there will be more opportunity to raise the national income and employment. Need the poster to right. So this is the now. Know the concept right now. This is the Keynesian aggregate supply curve, right? So according to the Keynes theory, right? So the demand side factors are more important, right? So that's why Keynes suggests to raise the government expenditure, and right, as fiscal policy variable, right? If they raise the government expenditure in the crisis situation, right? That will increase the aggregate demand. We can utilize the economy, the resources fully, right? So that will raise the equilibrium income, right? So that is the normal, is the aggregate supply curve, right? Station is perfectly elastic type curve, right? So then there will be a no change in the prices, but after that, there will be a certain price level, right? But after the full employment, the price change is very high, right? We raise the aggregate demand, right? Okay. Right. And that means we are utilizing the resources. Huh? Now here we have the unemployment problem. We are not utilizing the resources fully, right? Unemployed resources, right? It is the actual output. Right? So this is the full employment, right? Full employment, potential output level. When we are utilizing our resources fully, right? At the full employment, this is the full employment output level, right? We are trying to reach to the full employment output level from the actual. So this difference is the output gap, right? Actual output and the potential output. We are trying to minimize the output gap, right? By utilizing the resources. Let's talk about the employment, right? Here, macroeconomics, employment means employment for the resources. Productive. Okay? Right. Okay. So that's about the our first discussion, right? Do you have any questions, right? Because we did it somewhat easy way, right? So, I asked you to refer the things, various things, no, right? Today we are going to conclude this part, right? So I think now we discussed the equilibrium, right? So there are actually that discussion start from the simple model to the complex model, right? We can identify different multipliers and how the multiplier works, right? So we can think about that, right? We must be able to derive the equilibrium from the equation and then different multipliers. Okay, right? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, there are no questions, right? So we can stop for 3 minutes, right, for the break, right? And then we can start the topic, right? Do you have any concerns we can raise? To take the insights, we are refreshed, right? You can take start the session. After the new year, right, there will be a MCQ like question, right? Right. Probably it will be a 4 5 minutes. This paper 1 to 5, as I told you, right? Today I will update the test. And I have given you the tutorial, right? Second tutorial as well, right? Have you seen it? You have to do those questions, right? If you have any problem, you can contact me. Right? You can talk with your friends and colleagues. Have any problem, you can contact me.
අපේ weekdays මේ weekend class වල නම් 500යි 600යි. හැබැයි 18 කියන එකේ මොකද මේ පාර අවුරුද්දේ දානි කරන් කියලා දෙන්නේ 18 batch එකට. 18 ඔක්කොටම 1000යි. අනිත් ඒවාගේ ළමයින් තමයි 500 600.
මොකදදී?
නොදී අසම් එහෙම දෙන්නේ.
ඉදාව දෙන්නේ කොහොමද
කෝල් එකක් දැක්කේ අර මිස්ට දානම ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් මේ කියලා මිස් මට කියනවා මේ සොමිල හැමෝම වල දේල් කරනවා කියන්නේ කියලා මම කෝල් එකක් ගත්තා රෝල් දාන්න කරනවා ෆස්ට් මෙසේජ් එකක් දැම්මා ආයෙත් මිස් කරනවා එක එක්කෙනා ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් දානවා ඩේටා සෙට් හද
ඇයි මිස් කිව්වේ දානේ අන්තිම දවසේ
Here, and we start planning your breakfast now. Right. So now we are moving to the new topic, right? So that is we are going to the ISLM model. Now actually previously the things that we highlighted basically coming from the ancient theory, right? They are actually, you may remember that ancient theory we mentioned at the beginning. We are going to discuss about the model of income determination, right? That actually that model we highlighted, right? Especially the income determination model, how the national income is determined, right? And case discuss about employment, and there are so many other things also there, right? At this level, but we are mainly we look at this income determination, equilibrium income, right? So those things we highlighted, right? We identified the multipliers and the equilibrium income determination. Now, in that model, we identified certain variables, right? So that those variables are the demand side variables, right? Those are the aggregate demand variables. You identified the consumption, investment, common expenditure, export, and the import, right? Those are the demand side variables that we identified in our model, right? The ancient theory. Aggregate demand is the variable that explains the income, right? We identify those variables x minus z, right? In our model, right? So all these variables are the demand side variables: consumption, investment, common expenditure, exports, import, right? Demand side factors, right? So that form the aggregate demand, right? And that point of view, the model explains the income determination by looking at the demand side factor. Now we identified these factors. Now when we identify the economy as a set of macro variables, you may remember we identified the investment, right? Savings, right? So as the real sector variable. So we identify the real sector and the monetary sector, right? real sector and the monetary sector, right? The real sector may be the consumption, investment of savings, we identify. Here in this part of consumption, investment, so now under the consumption function, we can discuss the saving functions as well, right? Mostly those, this analysis focus on the real sector. Real sector. Right, looking at the demand side factors, right? Right. So now Keynesian theory basically focus on the one sector, real sector. Through that, the model theory explain how the national income is determined, but fails to identify the involvement of the financial sector or the monetary sector, no? Right? Here, right. Basically, now we when you talk about this tax and the finance aspect discussed, but money involvement, the impact on the interest rate and so on, right? When we identified, you know, that the real sector that determines the income, no, right? Monetary sector that determines the interest rate. Right? But there is no discussion. Keynes is the money demand function identifying this interest rate, no, right? So we identify the speculative motive, right? Why people demand money. Keynes explained the demand money under the speculative motive, right? But he fails to incorporate that into this model, right? In explaining the interaction between the real sector and the monetary sector, right? So this Keynesian theory only the it focused on the one sector, single sector, real sector, and based on that, it tries to explain the income determination and employment and so on, right? But that analysis is not complete, no, right? Since we ignore the important monetary sector involvement, right? Or the financial sector involvement in determining the equilibrium income, right? Right? So that is the main point, right? So therefore, that by identifying that one, right? So new model developed by the HR fix, right? So that model is we identified ISLM model, right? So that model focused on the real sector and the monetary sector, right? And by analyzing the interaction between the real sector and the monetary sector, it tries to explain the employment, price level, and all these things, right? So that we are going to discuss now, right? So now at the end of this discussion, right, we are not fully discuss all these things, right? ISLM, right? So under this level, and at the intermediate and the intermediate level, right? So we are going to identify the basic things, right, in the ISLM model, equilibrium income determination, right? So that we will be able to identify the importance of the ISLM model, why it is important, right? Then, right? Look at both real and the monetary sector. Compared with the Keynesian theory, no, it's a single sector oriented, no, right? Focusing on the real sector and tries to explain the determination of income, no, employment by looking at the demand side factors, right? But in the ISLM model, no, that explains the interaction between the real and the monetary sector in determining output. So therefore, it's explains the full overall economic kind of model, right? So, overall economic, right? But even in the Keynesian theory, even though it talks about the income determination, right? It does not explain does not look at the overall aspect of the economy in terms of real sector, monetary sector involved. Right? So, then we derive the ISLM curves, right? So how you learn how to derive the IS and the LM curves, right? And what factors determine the IS, LM, and the position. What factors goes to shift the ISLM curve and the slope. That is again for the slope, no, right? Because in economics we talk about the slope of the curve, so when we are making this. And we explain the policy implications, no, right? We need to look at the slope of the curves as well. So that also we look at. And finally, we look at the determination of equilibrium in the ISLM model. So that's a kind of general equilibrium model. We look at the let's say that the market sector. And some of the policy effects we are going to do. Right? And I included here the policy implications as well, right? But if we highlight those things, right? Policy effectiveness of the whether the fiscal policy is effective, whether the monetary policy is effective, under what circumstances those policies are effective. We discuss that most things behind. Right, those are the things. Right. Now this is at the beginning we must remember that ISLM model is not a theory, right? We discussed the Keynesian theory, classical theory also there, right? Before that. So we basically look at the Keynesian theory of income determination. So ISLM model is not a theory, it's a model. It's an analytical tool. The analytical tool, right? Why we say it's an analytical tool? The ISLM. The analytical tool, not a model. But not a theory. It's a model that can be used to explain the real sector and the monetary sector, right? Together in explaining the equilibrium income determination, right? In explaining the macroeconomic equilibrium, in other words, maybe I'm going to explain the macroeconomic equilibrium, right? So how we explain the macroeconomic equilibrium, right? By looking at the complete set of variables which represent real sector and the monetary sector. So those are the two sectors, but we know that there are other sectors apart from that, right? What are the other sectors? Maybe the employment, we discussed the employment determination. Employment sector is different, right, from that, right? And the government sector, right? So that can be incorporated here under the real sector also, right? You can use it, right? But it's a different sector, and the external sector as well, right? And basically, you can use real sector and the market sector, right? We assume explain that it's external and the government sector also coming under the real sector, right? So it's a analytical tool, not a theory, it's a model that can use to explain the income determination, the overall income, right? Developed by BSAA, right? So how the Keynesian theory is there by identifying the weak points, right? Keynesian theory, BSAA developed the ISLM model. It's an upgradation of the Keynesian model, Keynesian income determination model. Right? Further upgradation, right? Further development stage. Right? So when therefore now when he developed this model, right? He used the Keynesian explanation, right? In developing the ISLM model, IS and the LM curve. Right? So he derived the IS and the LM curve based on the Keynesian ideas. Right? Therefore, we can say it's a building Keynesian theory is the building block. Provide the basement. Building block. How we build the ISLM model, right? Based on the Keynesian theory. Based on the Keynesian idea. Based on the aggregating model, right? So it's a building block. So this model provides the basement for the development of the ISLM model. It provides the basic platform, right? So all the IS and the LM curves we derive based on the Keynesian ideas. Right? Now, ISLM model is an analytical tool that can be used to find out the values of the interest rate and the income. So we identify equilibrium income and the interest rate based on the ISLM income. So which simultaneously equilibrate the goods market or the real sector and the monetary sector. When the monetary sector equilibrium and the market real sector equilibrium identified, explained, right? So based on that, we identify the equilibrium income and the interest rate. It's a analytical tool that can be used to find out the value. Now, based on that, we identify the interest rate, equilibrium interest rate, and the equilibrium. So that explains the equilibrium with the air sector and the monetary sector at the same time. Right? Okay. Right. Now, what are the, as I mentioned, right? So now this is the basement coming from the Bayesian theory, because it's identify some of the weak points, but focus areas in the Bayesian theory, right? So in order to explain the overall economy, complete set of variables, right? It's introduced the ISL. Because Keynesian analysis is a single sector analysis, as I mentioned. It focuses on the demand side factors, which represent mostly the real sector, not the aggregate demand. But it does not incorporate the monetary involvement, right? In determining the equilibrium income. Monetary sector interaction, right? Through the interest rate in determining the equilibrium income. So that actually fails to identify. So that's the important sector, no? Right? Monetary sector is very important in determining the equilibrium income and the price level and so on. Right? But Keynesian theory fails to identify that, right? So that's why is the ISLA model is important, right? Since it explains the real sector and the monetary sector together in determining the equilibrium income and the interest rate. Okay. So now IS. Now here IS, now we talk about the real sector and the monetary sector. IS curve represents the real sector. LN curve represents the monetary sector, financial sector. Right. The interaction, right? So IS, I means what? Simple. There is investment. S means savings. In my earlier career, we don't have in the university 5-6 years, no, right? Even those periods, no, right? 10 years back, 6-7 years. We don't have these smart boards, no, right? Very recently we use the smart boards, right? So we have the whiteboard and these projectors, no, right? Right. So mostly I use this full to secondary, right? I roll the charts, no? Like explain the things, no? Right? So variables and so on, right? So the flow charts, no, right? So mostly I use, right? So that's why I prefer to use the whiteboard, no, right? Mostly, right? So, but also okay, right? But when we change this one into the writing mode, it's difficult, right? I convert it to the different specifications, right? Basically into the whiteboard, right? Now here IS, as I mentioned, this is real section. I means investment, right? S means savings. L means what? L. So that is the monetary sector. L represents the monetary sector, financial sector. So L means we call it as liquidity preference. Liquidity preference. What is that? Liquidity preference. That is more complicated, right? So that is the safety, that is the money demand. Why people demand money? So according to the Keynes words, right? He says liquidity preference. So that is the money demand, right? And the M means what? M means money supply. Those are the monetary factors identified in the monetary sector. Money demand and the money supply. So this is the money demand. Liquidity preference according to the Keynes words, right? So he explained why people demand money, liquidity preference. So this is the real sector, this is the monetary sector, ISLM. Explain the real sector and the monetary sector interaction to the investment savings, money demand, money supply, right? So we have the real and the monetary sector, okay? Now, this determine LA, basically IS. It's actually talk about interest rate and the income. Here also, we talk about the interaction between the interest rate and the income, right? Same, right? Take the interest rate and the income, right? So LA, right? Now, here, those are the real sector investment based on the investment savings, right? We derive the IS curve. Right? Based on the money demand, money supply, derive the LS curve. That is the case. So, Keynes explains money demand, money supply. Aggregate demand factors Y equals C plus I plus G. Real sector, right? A equals S plus S plus I plus E plus S plus T, right? That is the monetary sector, right? So we can take this one also in simple to complex situation, right? I equals S, I plus E equals S plus T, right? And E plus N equals S plus T plus N. So LM, when we talk about the IS curve also, we can assume from the simplest model to the probability other variables as well, right? So here basically money demand at equilibrium, money demand equal money supply, right? At equilibrium, the money market, right? So LM curve represents equilibrium in the money market. IS curve represents equilibrium in the real sector or the goods market. Now here money demand, the money supply. We assume money demand is T0 plus P1Y minus P2R. Money supply is autonomous, right? It is determined by the central bank policy variable, right? As it is. Okay. So that determines the equilibrium in the money market. Real sector represents equilibrium in the goods market. Okay. So you know the real sector, monetary sector, which variable represent IS, investment and savings, and then money demand. Okay. Right. So now we are going to talk about LM curve, right? Based on the money market, right? Let's talk about the money market, why people demand money, right? Keynes identify the interest rate is determined in the money market based on the money demand and the money supply, right? So money demand is downward sloping curve that depends on the transaction, precautionary and speculative motive, right? Explain that one earlier. Why people demand money, why people prefer money. For the transaction, precautionary, speculative motive. Right? Money supply is the policy variable that determined by the central bank. So that's why when we draw the money market, you may remember the money supply we draw. So this way money demand downward sloping. That determines the interest rate and the real money balance. Right? That is the money market equilibrium. Equilibrium is the money market. Right? Right? Based on that, we are going to derive the LM curve. Okay. So LM curve, right? It explains the equilibrium in the money market, right? Because L represents the liquidity preference, M represents the money supply. So those are the forces in the money market, which determine the equilibrium in the money market. So interaction between the liquidity preference and the money supply determine the equilibrium. So LM curve we derive based on that explanation. Originally developed by Keynes, right? So how we derive that determined by the based on the money market equilibrium. right? Explanation, right? It shows, as we mentioned earlier, normally the LM curve also represent various combination of interest rate and income, which explain, which determine the money demand and the money supply. It's based on the equilibrium in the money market, right? The LM curve shows various combination of interest rate and income at which money demand equal money supply. So any point on the LM curve explain the money demand equal money supply, money market equilibrium. So there are points, no? There are combinations of the interest rate and the income, no? Right? Along the LM curve. Right? So that represent money market equilibrium. Okay. So now we know that money market equilibrium occurs when money demand equal money supply. Equal. So our money demand function, according to the explanation of the Keynes, we know that it depends on the income and the interest rate. Income explains the transaction money demand and the precautionary money demand. Interest rate explains the speculative money demand. Transaction and the precautionary motive of money demand depends on the income, which has a positive impact on money demand. Whereas interest rate, the speculative market determine mainly the interest rate impact on the money demand, and negatively affect on the money demand of the speculative. That is our money demand. So money supply is not a problem, no, right? Since it is determined by the central bank. Interaction between the money demand and the money supply determine the equilibrium. Based on that, we can derive the. So this is the way, right? How we are going to explain the money market equilibrium. We need to start from the beginning, right? And you can identify the points on the LM curve based on that. Initially, we assume money market is in equilibrium, no? Initial situation. We start from the initial situation. Right? The money market is equilibrium. Then we assume there is a change in income, right? Then what is the impact on the money market? And then based on that, we can identify the points, no, in order to derive the LM. We need 2 points, no, in order to derive the curve, no, right? And 2 points mean sufficient, right? Now, initially we assume now we are in equilibrium. Money demand curve is downward sloping, no, right? Money supply curve is vertical. This is a policy variable, right? So that determines the equilibrium in the money market. Initially, we are in the money. So our prevailing interest rate is RC, particular interest rate, no, at the prevailing interest rate. Now, this is the real money balance. M over P, we normally write it as M divided by P. That is the real money balance. Real money is not. So money market is in equilibrium at this point, right? So we take the, so that means R0, Y0, sorry. And R0 means particular money stock is there. That is determined at the Y0 income level, right? So we can identify one point R0, Y0. Right. So in the LM curve, we represent the two sides are the interest rate and the income, right? And we can identify one point at R0 level, Y0 income. We assume Y0 the workers point, right? We have 1 point, right? Here. Now we assume what is the second? We assume in per capita income or income level increase. So we assume income level increase from Y0 to Y1. When there is a rise in the income, the economy, what happens? Money demand increase under the transaction and precautionary motives, right? People demand more money for the transaction motive and the precautionary motive. So that shows the money demand curve shift right, no? Shift right. So then at the prevailing interest rate, what happens? When there is a rise in the money demand, you rise in the income. At the previous interest rate does not change, no, initially. At the prevailing interest rate, there is a excess money demand, no? Right? So with the interest rate, money demand increase. So there will be excess money demand given by this range, no? Right? So the money market is in disequilibrium situation, not stable, right? And the prevailing interest rate are zero, right? If there is a excess money demand, no, over money supply, because even though the money income level increase, our central bank does not change the money supply, it's fixed, no? Right? So there is no possibility to change the money supply, right? Money supply is fixed, no? It's a policy variable. So there is excess money demand in the money market. Therefore, there will be, when there is a high money demand, then the money supply, what happens? Interest rate goes up. There is upward pressure on interest rate to rise. Right? So interest rate increase from R0 to R1 here, right? So normally the interest rate increase until this excess money demand comes to zero. Right? So there will be adjustment in the interest rate rise from R0 to R1. When it reaches R1, this excess money demand comes to zero. Economy or the money market moves to the new equilibrium point, denoted as E1. So at this point, again, money demand equals to money supply. That's the E1. Money market comes to the equilibrium. Now we can take equilibrium interest rate is R1. Money stock is same money stock, but the income level is Y1. Right? Income is Y0 to Y1. So R1, Y1. R1 is higher interest rate than R0. Y1 is higher income level than Y0. Another point we can, that is E1. If we assume further rising the money income, right? So this money demand will shift to right. Equilibrium moves to E2, right? Another point we can go at that point, R2, or something like that, right? So by combining these points, we can draw the equilibrium point, combining those points, we can draw the element. So that explains the different combination of interest rate and which simultaneous equilibrium to create the money market. So any point on the LM curve represents the money market equilibrium, right? So normally when you look at this LM curve, it's upward sloping, right? From left to right. Upward sloping. It's a positive slope, like a supply curve, right? Positive slope is there. Why there is positive slope? So that explains the same story, right? When there's rise in income, money demand increase, there will be excess money. Money in the market. Therefore, there is no way to increase the money supply. Interest rate increase. With the income, money demand also increase, not right? Therefore, equilibrium occurs at higher interest rate. Right? Interest rate increase, income also increase, not right? That's why positive slope. Right? Okay. So LM curve is positively sloped. If I ask you why, you must be able to explain based on the money market equilibrium. Okay. That story should be there. Starting from the initial situation. At the initial interest rate is money stock is initial income level is not from that. You can make hypothesize, right? If there is a rise in the income, what happened to the interest rate? What happened to the money market? Based on that, you can derive the fact. Now you know that LM curve represents the money market equilibrium. Any point on the LM curve, money demand equal money supply, which gives us various combination of interest rate and equilibrium. Okay. Okay, right. Then if you look at the shape of the LM curve, right, now that we discussed, the upward sloping, right? So it's a positive slope. You can explain that one, why it is positive slope, right? And the slope mainly depends on what? Now we know that If you draw the curve, right? So this is the base of the money market. We draw the LM curve, no, right? Based on that, then you define the LM curve, no, right? Based on the money market equilibrium, so, right? Right. Like this, no, right? Now here this one is stable, so there is no impact, no, right? But basically impact coming from the money demand. In explaining the behavior of the LM curve, no, money demand is most influential factor, no, right? Right. Two things. So because money demand mainly depends on two things, no, right? This one and this one, right? C1 and the C2. So slope of this curve mainly depends on these two, right? Demands based on the because money demand has greater impact because money supply is constant. LM curve the behavior, upward behavior, and the slope mainly depends on the money demand, right? Because when you talk about the upward slope, also we talk about income and the interest rate in the income, right? And then determined by the C1 and the C2. C1 is income elasticity of money demand with respect to change in the income. The C2 is interest elasticity of money demand. So those are the two factors that determine slope of the LM curve. Sometimes LM curve will become more steeper, sometimes flatter. So that slope is very, very important, right? Why there is a high steeper curve, why there is flatter curve, that depends on C1 and the C2. C1 can be high or low, depending on that, slope can be changed. Right? C2 also can be high or low, depending on that, slope can be changed. Normally, if there is a high C1, right, we can later we can talk about. There is a high C1, slope becomes steeper. Right? If income elasticity of money demand is high, we have a steeper LM curve. If it is low, we have a flatter LM curve. And also C2, if it is high, we have a flatter LM curve, right? If it is low, we have a steeper LM curve, right? So there maybe the C1 and the C2 are the most crucial factors determining the slope of the LM curve. Slope depends on two, right? So that one we will discuss next day, right? So simply by looking at this equation, right, we can explain the factor and the steeper. So please refer the things, right? If you are coming next time, explain here also, right? By looking at the that explains the right. So we will discuss those things and we will continue, right? One more extra session will take, right? Next week after the new year, right? We will have the examination, right? Please get ready for that, right? In meantime, I will upload the some of the questions in another tutorial, right? From the last year's discussion in the last session, right? You can practice those questions, right? If we have any questions, we can raise, right? At the last day, we will just review those things, right? Some tutorial questions, right? Because I want you to give some advice when you are answering the questions, as said, right? The examination. Answer the question, right? Therefore, please do the tutorials that is compulsory for you, right? If you are doing that one, you will be get more understanding, and that will be for you by the final exam. Okay. So there will be two tutorials uploaded, and the rest of the tutorials also later detailed on this. And get ready for the MCQ test that will cover, as I said, 1 to 5. No. Have a nice weekend and happy New Year.